XDefiant will have 5 factions on release, and if you're wondering who you should play as, what abilities are the best, or just want to be a better overall player, having an understanding over each faction is an absolute must in XDefiant. And with the launch less than a week away, I'm making this video as an overview over each faction and ability in XDefiant, with some tips, tricks, and tactics for you to implement in your game to take over matches. Each of the 5 factions have 2 abilities to pick from alongside a passive and an ultra. Starting off with the Cleaners. This faction originates from Tom Clancy's The Division series. The Cleaners are damage dealing specialists, packing incendiary rounds alongside a napalm spreading drone and an old-fashioned flamethrower. Now, the 2 abilities for this faction is the firebomb and the incinerator drone. The firebomb acts as a Molotov, which is great for clearing zones, objective points, and it can delay a push from the enemy team. The incinerator drone burns everything in its flight path, dealing explosive damage on impact. The drone is also great for clearing zones, cutting off lanes, and if you don't have at least one of these in the linear game modes such as escort and zone control, it'll be a long game. Now, the passive trait, like I mentioned earlier, is the incendiary rounds. Now, although this increases weapon damage, it also decreases the range. So running this faction on longer range maps like Liberty and Mayday might be tricky. If you can get it to work, it'll be very beneficial to you and your team. And then for the ultimate, we have the flamethrower. This thing does incredible amounts of damage, lasting 12 seconds or until 100% of the fuel is used. With the flamethrower, you will easily be able to wipe a team within seconds, with it only needing 3 to 5% of the fuel to kill an enemy at 100 HP. When it comes to the objective, this faction is basically S tier because it's so crucial when it comes to breaking and holding an objective. Now, the second of the 5 factions is the DEDSEC. The DEDSEC originate from the Watchdog series, and these are tech experts that can scramble the enemy's HUD and take control of deployable items like shields, turrets, drones, and unleash autonomous spider bots to hunt down the opposing team. Now, the last time we seen these in the game was in the playtest session last year, and if you remember, these are the drones that would jump up in your face and essentially make you tweak. So that's one ability. The other is the hijack ability. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You just hijack enemy items and make them your own. These are great in objective-based modes as you can steal walls and healing deployables from the other team. Now, the DEDSEC might have one of the best passives because it is essentially like Restock from Call of Duty, where if you use a grenade, 15 seconds later you will get that grenade back. The Ultra ability Lockout is absolutely perfect when it comes to shutting down the other team from making a play. When activated, it acts as a EMP and disables the enemy's HUD, minimap, and abilities in the affected area. So if you're ever in a situation where the other team is on your home flag and they have a shield and the healing ultra, you can turn the corner, pop your ultra, and cancel both of those out. And moving on to the next faction, we have the ECHELON. The ECHELON originate from the Splinter Cell series and is a support class that can give players crucial information. Now, this is my favorite faction to use solely based on the passive trait. The passive allows you to be unseen on enemy maps, which is absolutely amazing for getting multi-kills. You could easily get a kill, push up a spawn, and you'll see 3 enemies running the complete opposite direction. It's absolutely great. And we definitely can't forget about the abilities. The first one to choose from is the Digital Ghillie Suit. This ability makes you nearly invisible, but moving and aiming down your sights increase the visibility of your character. The Ghillie Suit is great for fast-paced players who could easily get the advantage by sneaking past enemies on a rotation or just simply flanking an objective. Now, the second ability is the Intel Suit. The Intel Suit is a scan that shows the location of nearby enemies with you and your team. This is also great when it comes to breaking an objective because you can easily see where enemies are and which direction they're running towards. And to top off the Echelon faction, we have the Sonar Goggles Ultra. This reveals enemies on the map and gives you a classic 3rd echelon pistol. Now, this thing is OP. You get it for 12 seconds. It's 1 shot to the head, 3 to the body. I mean, this Ultra ability is great for absolutely any situation you find yourself in. Hopping over to the next faction, we have the LIBERTAD, which are the healers out of the 5 factions. And they also originate from Far Cry 6. Their medical backpack can keep an entire team alive and fighting, and just their presence alone increases passive healing for nearby teammates. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if you see at least 3 to 4 of these being ran on each team in pubs. Because not only does the passive provide healing over time to nearby teammates, if you combine it with your health boost ability, it would immediately regen you and nearby teammates to full health, increases your max health to 120, but it has a radius of 65 feet, which is a huge portion of an objective point. Now, besides the health boost ability, we have the El Remedio ability. This ability throws down a gas container that heals friendlies until it's destroyed or it's cancelled by the user. With that being said, this stays in the same spot even after death. Now, the LIBERTAD Ultra ability is crafted by God himself. So whenever you activate the Medico Supremo Ultra ability, this provides you and teammates within a 10-foot radius You guys get double the amount of health and double the amount of health regen, lasting for 10 seconds. Like I said, each team will need at least one of these, but I'm sure at least 2 to 3 people per team will be running these at all time. And like I said earlier, the passive is so insane on this class because it grants you and teammates an extra 20 HP. That makes a huge impact when it comes to gunfights. And now last but not least, the Phantom faction. Now this final faction originates from the Ghost Recon series. Their description reads, Phantoms are hard to kill and specialize in battlefield control, using a variety of deployed and personal shields to hold down points or anchor a forward rush. And one of those shields is the ability Mag Barrier. The Mag Barrier is a great ability for offensive pushes or defending the objective from a group of enemies. Beware, however, like I mentioned earlier in the video, the DEDSEC will primarily try to focus on stealing your walls. Now, the second ability for the Phantom faction is the Blitz Shield. Now, this is essentially a riot shield. If you hold the melee button, it charges up for a shield bash. The Blitz Shield is absolutely perfect for just that extra push that you need an escort, or you can use it as a distraction while your teammate uses their Ultra ability. Now, before we get to this faction's Ultra, we need to talk about the passive. This passive grants you an extra 20 HP, so you'll be sitting at a base of 120 HP. And like I mentioned with the last faction, that extra 20 HP can go a long way in gunfights. And now for the Ultra ability, we have the Aegis Shield. This is basically a Gibraltar ult from Apex. So it's basically a massive bulletproof bubble, and if enemies get inside of this bubble, you can simply one-tap them. And another tip is if you pop your Ultra on top of the escort drone, it's guaranteed progression towards your team. And also, if you have a friend or buddy running the LIBERTAD and you guys both have Ultras at the same time, combining these two Ultras is disgustingly overpowered. And if you're using one of these factions and you really aren't feeling it, don't worry. Luckily, XDefiant allows you to change your faction and loadout each time you respawn. That seems to be it for all of the factions and abilities. If this video helped you out, leave a like, comment, maybe subscribe. It does help out the channel. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers at some point in this lifetime, so any help would be appreciated. Until next time, we'll see you fudge later.